Commander Jake Morrison stared at the strange signal flickering across his screen. The numbers made no sense at first. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks. They were supposed to find new planets and map star systems. Nothing exciting ever happened on these trips. "Lisa, come look at this," Jake called to his science officer. Lisa Chang floated over in the zero gravity of the command center. Her dark hair moved like water around her face. "What is it, Commander?" Lisa asked. She grabbed the edge of Jake's chair to stop herself from drifting. "Some kind of signal? It's been repeating for the last hour." Jake pointed at the screen. "The computer says it's coming from that moon over there." Lisa looked at the display. The moon was small and gray, orbiting, a huge gas giant. Nothing special about it, but the signal was very strange. It used old-style radio waves, the kind humans used hundreds of years ago. "This is weird," Lisa said. She pushed buttons and made the signal clearer. "Look at these patterns. They're mathematical. Someone intelligent is sending this." Jake felt excitement building in his chest. In 20 years of space travel, he had never found signs of alien life. "Are you sure?" "Positive. See the sequence? 2, 3, 5, 7, 11? Prime numbers. No natural process makes patterns like this." The signal kept repeating. Over and over, the same mathematical sequences played, but there was something desperate about it, like someone crying for help. "Dr. Turner, get up here," Jake called on the ship's radio. Alex Turner was their alien life expert, though he had never studied real aliens before. Alex arrived a few minutes later. He was a thin man with messy brown hair and thick glasses. "What's the emergency?" Lisa showed him the signal. Alex's eyes grew wide behind his glasses. "This is incredible. We need to investigate immediately." "Hold on," Jake said. "We're supposed to avoid contact with primitive civilizations. The rules are very clear about that." "But they're asking for help," Alex argued. "Look at how often they repeat the signal. This isn't just communication, it's a distress call," Jake thought about. The rules. Earth Command had strict orders about not interfering with alien species, but they also had orders to help anyone in danger. Which rule was more important? "We'll take a closer look," Jake decided. "We stay careful." The Horizon's Edge moved toward the small moon. As they got closer, their instruments showed something amazing. The moon had water under its surface. Lots of water, and the water was warm. "There are caves down there," Lisa reported. "Huge ones, full of water. And the water is moving." "Moving how?" Jake asked. "Like there are currents, flowing water? And look at this." Lisa pointed to another screen. "The water is glowing." They watched as lights moved through the underground oceans. The lights were beautiful, like stars dancing. In the darkness, they moved in patterns that looked almost like writing. "We need to go down there," Alex said. His voice was shaking with excitement. Jake made the decision. "Prep the shuttle. Small team only. Lisa, Alex, and me. Everyone else stays on the ship." The shuttle broke through the moon's thin atmosphere and dove into one of the cave openings. The walls were smooth, worn by water over millions of years. As they went deeper, the water began to glow brighter. "It's not the water that's glowing," Lisa said, studying her instruments. "It's something living in the water." It reached a huge underwater chamber. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful. The entire space was filled with structures that looked like coral reefs, but they were too perfect to be natural. They were cities, alien cities growing from the cave floor like living buildings. Creatures moved between the structures. They were about the size of humans but moved through the water like dolphins. Their skin was smooth and blue-green. Most amazing of all, they glowed. Patterns of light moved across their bodies like writing made of stars. "They're trying to communicate," Alex whispered. "The lights on their skin, it's language." One of the creatures approached their shuttle. It was bigger than the others, with more complex light patterns. The creature's lights flashed in the same mathematical sequence they had. "Heard on the radio? It knows we heard the signal," Lisa said. "It's trying to talk to us." Jake made another big decision. "Alex, Can your translator work with light patterns? I can try. Alex worked frantically with his equipment. After an hour, he had something working. Not perfect, but good enough for basic communication. The conversation that followed changed everything. The creature's name was something like flowing current in deep places, but Alex shortened it to Flow. Flow was an elder of his people, the Villani. He had been sending the distress signal for many seasons. The Villani were in terrible danger. Another alien race called the Korthok came to their moon every few years. The Korthok took Villani prisoners and hurt them to steal something from their bodies. Flow's light patterns showed fear and sadness when he talked about it. What do they take? Jake asked through the translator. Flow's answer made Alex go pale. They take fluid from their brains. It makes the Korthok smarter and helps them live longer. The Villani who get captured never come back. Jake felt sick. How long has this been happening? Hundreds of years, Alex translated. The Villani have tried to hide, but the Korthok always find them. They've contacted other star civilizations for help, but everyone ignores them. Why? Lisa asked. Flow's light showed confusion and sadness. The others say the Villani are too primitive. They don't have spaceships or weapons. The galaxy only helps species that can fight. Jake looked around at the beautiful underwater cities. The Villani had built something amazing here. Their technology was different from human technology, but it wasn't primitive. They'd learned to grow their buildings instead of constructing them. It turned their whole world into a work of art. When will the Korthok come back? Jake asked. Flow's patterns turned urgent. Soon. Very soon. Maybe days. Alex continued, translating as Flow explained more. The Villani were peaceful people. They had never learned to make weapons because they had never needed them. They spent their time creating beautiful things and learning about the universe. They were scientists and artists, not warriors. But that made them perfect victims for the Korthok. The Korthok were the opposite. They were brutal and violent. They had big spaceships and powerful weapons. They took what they wanted from anyone. Too weak to stop them? The worst part was that other advanced civilizations knew about this and did nothing. They said it was natural selection. Only the strong deserve to survive in space. Jake felt anger building inside him. This was wrong. The Villani were people, just like humans. They deserved protection. How many Korthok ships come here? Jake asked. Usually 3 or 4, Alex translated. Big ones. Bigger than your ship. Jake knew the Horizon's Edge couldn't fight that many ships alone. What? But he also knew he couldn't leave the Villani to face this alone. Flo, we want to help you, Jake said. But we need to contact our people first. Can you wait? Flo's lights showed hope for the first time. You would really help us? Even though we cannot help you back? That's exactly why we want to help, Jake said. As they prepared to leave, Flo showed them more of the Villani civilization. Their biotechnology was incredible. They had computers made from living coral. They had vehicles that swam through water like fish. They had medicine that could heal almost any injury. The Villani weren't primitive at all. They were just different. They had chosen to work with life instead of against it. They had chosen peace instead of war. And the galaxy punished them for those choices. Jake knew this discovery would change everything. But first, he had to convince Earth Command to help, and he had to do it before the Korthok ships arrived. Commander Jake Morrison could not sleep. The ship was traveling back toward Earth, but his mind stayed with the Villani. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Flo's desperate light patterns asking for help. Jake, you need to see this, Lisa Chang called from the research lab. Her voice sounded worried. Jake found Lisa and Alex Turner hunched over computer screens. They had been working for 3 days straight, studying everything they could find about galactic civilizations. What did you find? Jake asked. Alex looked up with tired eyes. It's worse than we thought. Much worse. The Villani aren't the only ones. Lisa pulled up a star map covered in red dots. Each dot is a species like the Villani, peaceful civilizations that got ignored or destroyed. Jake stared at the map. There were hundreds of red dots. How is this possible? The galaxy has rules, Alex explained. But they're terrible rules. Only species with faster-than-light travel and military power get protection. Everyone else gets left behind. Ryan Carter, their intelligence officer, walked into the lab carrying a stack of data files. Ryan was quiet and careful, the kind of person who noticed things others missed. "I've been reading Galactic law documents," Ryan said. "There's something called the Development Standards Protocol. It decides which species are worth helping." "What kind of standards?" Jake asked. Ryan opened one of the files. "A species must have 3 things to be considered advanced: space travel between stars, weapons that can destroy planets, and population over 1 billion. "That's crazy," Lisa said. "What about art, science, philosophy?" "Doesn't matter," Ryan replied. "The Arcanian Federation, Xanthari Collective, and Korthok Empire made these rules. They only care about military strength." Alex pulled up another screen showing a beautiful crystal formation. "Look at this. The singing crystals of Proxima Delta. They're silicon-based life forms that communicate through music. They can create sounds so beautiful that other species travel across the galaxy just to hear them." "Where are they now?" Jake asked. Face fell. Gone. The Xanthari Collective decided their planet had valuable minerals. The crystals couldn't fight back, so they got moved to a small moon. Half of them died during the relocation. Kima Rodriguez, their communications specialist, joined the group. Emma was good at languages and had been trying to contact other species without alerting the major powers. "I found more," Emma said sadly. "The garden tenders of Wolf 359. They're plant-like beings who can turn dead worlds into paradise. They made 12 planets into the most beautiful places in the galaxy." Jake noticed she used past tense. "The Arcanian Federation took their worlds for farming colonies. The garden tenders were moved to a space station. They're dying slowly because they need soil to live." Jake felt sick. "How many others?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Dozens, maybe hundreds. The memory keepers who could store the entire history of civilizations in their minds. The harmony builders who could make different species work together perfectly. The deep thinkers who solve mathematical problems that would take our computers years. All gone?" Lisa asked. "Most of them, the lucky ones, became slaves. The unlucky ones just disappeared." Ryan pulled up another document. "Here's the really bad part. The major powers have an agreement. They call it the efficiency doctrine. It says the galaxy is better off without weak civilizations." Jake read the document. The cold language made his anger grow. The major powers believed that peaceful species were evolutionary failures. They thought that removing them made the galaxy stronger. "This is genocide," Jake said quietly. "Legal genocide," Alex corrected. "The Galactic Council approved these policies 3,000 years ago." Emma had been quiet, working on her computer. "Wow." Now she looked up with excitement. "Jake, I've been sending careful messages to surviving peaceful species," some of them answered. She showed them a screen full of translated messages. Each one told the same story. Peaceful civilizations living in fear, hiding from the major powers, hoping someone would help them. "The Tide Singers on Kepler 186 FR next," Emma said. "The Korthok Empire wants to harvest their vocal cords to make better communication devices. The singers have been sending distress calls for months." "What about the color weavers near Vega?" Lisa asked, reading another message. "The Xanthari want to use them as living art pieces," Emma replied. "The weavers can change their body colors to create pictures. The Xanthari think they would make good decorations." Jake felt his hands shaking with rage. These weren't resources being harvested. These were people, intelligent beings with families and dreams and fears. "There's more," Ryan said. He pulled up intelligence reports about the major powers. "The Korthok Empire has been using Villani brain fluid for 200 years. It's made them much smarter and stronger. Same with other species they've conquered. The Xanthari Collective uses slave labor from 12 different peaceful species," Alex added. "They force them to build their cities and maintain their technology. The Arcanian Federation is the worst," Emma said. They've turned peaceful species into living weapons. They take their natural abilities and twist them for war. Jake looked at the star map again. So many red dots. So many civilizations that had been destroyed or enslaved. And the galaxy's major powers called it progress. What about us? Jake asked. How did humanity get accepted? Ryan had researched this too. We barely made it. Earth had nuclear weapons, space travel to other planets, and over 7 billion people. But even then, they almost rejected us. Why? Lisa asked. We were too peaceful, Alex said. The major powers thought humans were too soft. They were worried we might cause trouble by helping weaker species. Jake laughed bitterly. They were right to worry. There's something else, Emma said. I found records of species that tried to help others. The Protector Alliance tried to defend peaceful civilizations 400 years ago. What happened to them? Destroyed all of them. The major powers said they were disturbing galactic stability. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If humanity tried to help the Villani and other peaceful species, they would face the same fate. Jake, Lisa said carefully, what are we going to do? Jake looked at his crew. His people had become his family over the years. He had no right to put them in danger. But he also had no right to abandon the Villani and others who needed help. We're going to do what's right, Jake said finally. But first, we need more information. Over the next week, the crew worked harder than ever before. Ryan gathered intelligence on military strengths and weaknesses of the major powers. Emma made contact with more hidden, peaceful species, building a network of communication. Alex studied the technologies and abilities of each species, looking for advantages. Lisa analyzed the political situation, trying to find allies. What they discovered gave Jake hope. The peaceful species weren't as helpless as they seemed. The Velanese biotechnology was more advanced than anything the major powers had. The singing crystals could create sound frequencies that disrupted electronic systems. The garden tenders understood biological systems better than anyone. The problem was that these species had never worked together. They had been isolated and afraid for so long that they didn't know their own strength. If we could unite them, Alex said during one late-night planning session, they might be able to defend themselves. But they need someone to organize them, Emma added. Someone the major powers can't ignore. Jake understood. Humanity was small and weak compared to the major powers. But they had something the peaceful species didn't have. Recognition. The major powers would have to listen to humans, at least at first. We're going to need help from Earth, Jake said. This is bigger than one ship can handle. As the horizon's edge approached Earth, Jake prepared his report. He knew that what he was about to propose would change everything. Humanity would have to choose between safety and justice, between following the galaxy's cruel rules and standing up for what was right. Jake hoped his people would make the right choice. The lives of countless peaceful civilizations depended on it. The Villani were still waiting for an answer. Flows. People were still hiding in their underwater cities, hoping the Korthok ships wouldn't come too soon. But they weren't alone anymore. Across the galaxy, other peaceful species were watching and waiting too. For the first time in thousands of years, someone was willing to listen to them. Someone was willing to help. Whether that someone could actually make a difference remained to be seen. The Earth Council chamber was packed with the most important people in human government. Admiral Claire Thompson sat at the head of the long table, her gray hair pulled back tightly. She had been reading Commander Morrison's report for 2 hours, and her face showed no emotion. "This is impossible," said General Martin Webb. He was a big man with scars from old battles. Cannot fight 3 galactic empires. They would destroy us in days. Jake Morrison stood at the center of the room, feeling small under all the staring eyes. His crew sat behind him. Lisa Chang looked nervous. Alex Turner kept adjusting his glasses. Ryan Carter and Emma Rodriguez watched quietly. "Sir, we're not talking about fighting everyone," Jake said. "We're talking about protecting people who can't protect themselves." Admiral Thompson finally looked up from the report. Commander Morrison, do you understand what you're asking? Want humanity to declare war on the established galactic order? I want humanity to do what's right, Jake replied. Secretary of Defense, Laura Hill leaned forward. She was known for being practical and careful. What's right and what's possible are two different things. We have a responsibility to protect our own people first. Dr. Nicole Foster, Earth's top environmental scientist, had been quiet until now. She was younger than most people in the room, but everyone respected her work. May I say something? Nicole asked. Admiral Thompson nodded. Nicole stood up and activated a holographic display. It showed pictures of Earth from hundreds of years ago. Polluted oceans, dead forests, dying animals. This is what Earth looked like when we almost destroyed ourselves, Nicole said. We were focused only on power and wealth. We ignored the weak and the small. We almost lost everything. She changed the display to show modern Earth. Clean oceans, green forests, cities that worked with nature instead of against it. We learned that protecting the weak makes everyone stronger. Taking care of small things keeps the big things healthy. The Villani and other peaceful species are like the small creatures that keep entire ecosystems alive. General Webb shook his head. It's a nice speech, but this is about military reality. The Korthok Empire has 10,000 ships. We have maybe 300. Numbers aren't everything, said Captain Danny Price. He was young for a military leader, but he had won several battles against impossible odds. David beat Goliath. The American colonists beat the British Empire. Sometimes the small guy wins. Those are fairy tales in ancient history, Webb replied. This is space warfare against civilizations that have been fighting for thousands of years. Jake stepped forward again. General, with respect, you're thinking like them. You're only seeing military power. But Alex discovered something important. Alex Turner stood up nervously. He had never spoken to such important people before. The peaceful species have technologies we can't imagine. The Villani can grow computers from living coral. The singing crystals can create sounds that shut down electronic systems. The garden tenders understand biology better than we do. So what? Secretary Hill asked. They're still defenseless. Defenseless alone, Lisa Chang said, joining the conversation. But together, with human coordination and tactics, they could be incredibly powerful. Admiral Thompson studied the reports again. Even if that's true, we would be breaking galactic law. The development standards protocol is clear. We cannot interfere with the natural order. The natural order? Jake's voice got louder. Admiral, there's nothing natural about genocide. There's nothing natural about slavery. The major powers made these laws to benefit themselves. President Robert Kane had been listening quietly from the back of the room. He was an older man with kind eyes and gray hair. People said he always tried to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Commander Morrison, the president said, tell me about the Villani children. Jake was surprised by the question. Sir, in your report you mentioned Villani children. Tell me about them. Jake thought about his time in the underwater cities. They're beautiful, sir. And they play games with light patterns. They learn by swimming. With their parents through the coral cities, they ask questions about everything. They're curious and happy and innocent. And the Korthok take them too? Jake's throat felt tight. Yes, sir. Flo told me the Korthok prefer young Villani. Their brain fluid is more potent. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking about children being taken from their families. President Kane stood up slowly. I have grandchildren. They're 7 and 9 years old. When I look at them, I see the future of humanity. I see hope and wonder and love. He walked to the center of the room. Every person in this room became who they are because someone protected them when they were weak. Parents, teachers, communities, nations. We protected each other because that's what humans do. General Webb tried to interrupt. Mr. President, we have to be realistic. Kane held up his hand. General, I understand the risks. But I also understand who we are as a species. Humanity has always been at its best when we stand up for people who cannot stand up for themselves. He turned to face the whole room. We fought against slavery when it would have been easier to ignore it, and we stopped genocides when it would have been safer to look away. We created laws to protect the weak, even when the strong complained. Nicole Foster nodded. Mr. President, there's something else. The peaceful species have knowledge that could help everyone. The Villani's biotechnology could solve food shortages. The garden tenders could restore damaged planets. If we save them, we save their knowledge too. Emma Rodriguez spoke up from her seat. Sir, I've been in contact with 17 different peaceful species. They're all willing to share their knowledge with anyone who helps them. They don't want payment or territory. They just want to survive. Admiral Thompson looked worried. Mr. President, if we do this, we become enemies of the 3 most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They could cut off all trade with us. They could attack Earth directly. Kane agreed. But they might not. The major powers are used to fighting weak opponents. They've never faced a coalition of peaceful species working together with human military tactics. Captain Price stood up. Mr. President, I've studied the military reports. The major powers have been fighting the same way for centuries. Rely on big ships and brute force. They don't adapt or change. Humans are different. We improvise. We adapt. We find new ways to win. Secretary Hill looked through her files. The economic impact would be severe. We trade with all 3 major powers. Losing that trade could hurt our colonies. We'll find new trading partners, Kane said. The peaceful species might not have military technology, but they have other valuable things. Art, medicine, science, culture. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. The president was listening, really listening. There's one more thing, Jake said. The Korthok ships are coming back to the Villani homeworld in less than 2 weeks. If we're going to help, we need to decide now. General Webb stood up angrily. This is madness. We're talking about risking everything for aliens we just met. No, President Kane said firmly. We're talking about risking everything for what we believe in, for who we want to be in this galaxy. He looked around the room at each person. 8! Made my decision. Humanity will offer protection to any peaceful species that asks for it. We will not stand by while intelligent beings are enslaved or destroyed. The room erupted in arguments. Some people cheered. Others shouted in anger. Admiral Thompson called for order. This decision will need approval from the Global Council vote, Secretary Hill said loudly over the noise. Then we'll hold an emergency vote, Kane replied. Tonight. The vote was held 6 hours later. Representatives from every nation on Earth participated by video link. The debate was fierce. Some countries worried about the risks. Others argued that humanity had a moral duty to help. In the end, the vote was close. 54 nations voted yes. 41 voted no. 8 abstained. President Kane announced the results to the world. Effective immediately, humanity offers protection and alliance to all peaceful civilizations in the galaxy. We will not tolerate the exploitation or destruction of intelligent species, regardless of their military capabilities. The announcement sent shockwaves through human society. Some people celebrated in the streets. Others protested, saying the government was risking human lives for aliens. But the decision was made. Admiral Thompson was ordered to prepare a fleet. For immediate departure to the Villani homeworld, Captain Price was put in command of the mission. Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Sanctuary Fleet. His job was to coordinate defense efforts with the peaceful species. As Jake prepared to return to space, he received a message from Flo. The Villani Elders' light patterns were full of gratitude and hope. The Korthok ships are coming, the message said. But we are not afraid anymore. The first time in generations, we have hope. Thank you for seeing us as people, not resources. Jake looked up at the stars from Earth's surface. Where out there, the Korthok Empire was preparing for what they thought would be another easy harvest. They had no idea that everything was about to change. Humanity had made its choice. Now they had to prove they could keep their promise. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Guardian. Around him, 12 human ships waited in the darkness near the Villani homeworld. They were small compared to what was coming, but Jake felt no fear, only determination. Admiral. We're getting signals from the Villani cities, reported Communications Officer Emma Rodriguez. Flo says his people are ready. Jake nodded. For the past week, human engineers had been working with Villani biotechnology experts. The results were incredible. Living computers that could think faster than any machine. Organic shields that could repair themselves. Weapons that grew and adapted during battle. Captain Price, what's our status? Jake asked. Captain Danny Price. Floated over in the zero gravity of the command center. All ships are ready, sir. The Villani have grown bioconnectors for our systems. We're linked directly to their cities now. Lisa Chang looked up from her science station. Admiral, the bio-network is amazing. The Villani cities are like one giant computer. It can process information and make decisions faster than anything we've ever seen. And the other species? Jake asked. Emma smiled. The singing crystals from Proxima Delta arrived this morning. They've positioned themselves around the gas giant. The garden tinders from Wolf 359 are growing defensive barriers on 3 of the moons. Alex Turner was working with Villani scientists in the ship's lab. His voice came over the intercom. Jake, you need to see this. The bioweapons the Villani created are beyond anything we imagined. Jake left the bridge and went to the lab. Alex was standing next to a wall that seemed to be breathing. The wall was covered in what looked like blue coral, but it moved and shifted like a living thing. This is a bioshield, Alex explained. It's grown from Villani coral genetics. Watch what happens when I fire a laser at it. The laser beam hit the wall, but instead of burning through, the wall absorbed the energy. The coral glowed brighter and grew thicker. It learns, Alex said excitedly. Each time you attack it, it gets stronger against that type of attack. It shares what it learns with every other bioshield in the network. How many of these do we have? Jake asked. The Villani have been growing them for days. They've covered the entire moon with bioshields. Plus they've created bioships that can fight alongside our fleet. Jake felt hope growing stronger. They actually had a chance. Admiral Morrison, Flo's translated voice came through the speakers. The Korthok ships have been detected. 4 large vessels approaching from the outer system. Jake rushed back to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see 4 massive ships moving toward them. Each one was 10 times bigger than any human ship. They're trying to communicate with us, Emma reported. Put them through, Jake ordered. The screen showed a Korthok commander. He looked like a cross between a lizard and a shark, with gray scales and rows of sharp teeth. His eyes were cold and cruel. Human vessels, the Korthok said in perfect English. You are interfering with a legal harvesting operation. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Jake stepped forward. This is Admiral Morrison of the Human Sanctuary Fleet. The Villani are under our protection. Leave now, and no one gets hurt. The Korthok commander laughed, showing all his teeth. Humans, we know about your pathetic species. You've been in space for less than a century. We have been warriors for 10,000 years. Then you should be smart enough to leave, Jake replied calmly. You have 12 small ships? We have 4 dreadnoughts, each capable of destroying planets? This is your last warning. No, Jake said. This is yours. The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. All ships. Prepare for battle. It's time to show these bullies what happens when you pick on someone with friends. The Korthok ships opened fire first. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the human fleet. But something strange happened. The beams hit invisible barriers and scattered harmlessly in all directions. What just happened? Captain Price asked. Lisa checked her instruments. The singing crystals. They're creating harmonic fields that disrupt energy weapons. The Korthok shots can't get through. On the main screen, they could see the Korthok commander shouting orders. His ships fired again, this time with different weapons. Physical projectiles shot toward the human fleet. Bioshields activating, Alex reported from the lab. Around each human ship, walls of living coral materialized. The Korthok projectiles hit the shields and stuck to them like insects in a spider web. The shields absorbed the metal and grew stronger. Impossible. The Korthok commander's voice came over the radio. What are these defenses? Jake smiled. Something you never learned to appreciate. Cooperation. Now it was humanity's turn to attack. But they didn't use conventional weapons. Instead, bioships launched from the Villani cities. These ships looked like giant sea creatures, with flowing tentacles and glowing bodies. The bioships moved through space like they were swimming through water. When Korthok fighters tried to intercept them, the bioships simply flowed around the attacks. Their tentacles reached out and touched the Korthok ships. "What are they doing?" Captain Price asked. "Alex's." The voice was full of excitement. "They're not destroying the ships. They're converting them. The bioships are growing over the Korthok vessels and taking control of their systems." On the screen, they watched as Korthok fighters became covered in blue coral. Enemy ships stopped attacking and began moving in coordination with the bioships. The Korthok commander was screaming now. "This is impossible. Ships don't behave this way. Weapons don't behave this way." "That's your problem," Jake said over the radio. "You only know one way to fight. We know 1,000 ways." Human ships began their own attack patterns. But instead of trying to destroy the Korthok dreadnoughts, they swarmed around them like insects. Each human ship was small and fast, impossible for the big ships to hit. Kevin Price, chief engineer, had worked with Villani biotechnology to create new weapons. Instead of explosives, they fired seeds. Living seeds that burrowed into the Korthok ships and began growing. "Sir, the Korthok's dreadnoughts are slowing down," Emma reported. "The bioseeds are interfering with their engines. They're also disrupting their communications," Ryan Carter added. He had been monitoring Korthok radio signals. "The ships can't coordinate with each other anymore." The garden tenders joined the battle from their positions on the moons. Launched spores into space that created thick clouds around the Korthok ships. The clouds blocked sensors and made it impossible for the enemy to see their targets. But the most amazing part was how everything worked together. Singing crystals created sound barriers that protected the human ships. The Villani Bio Network coordinated all movements in real time. Garden tenders provided cover and confusion. The humans tied it all together with tactics and strategy. "This is unprecedented," Lisa said, watching her instruments. "It's like the entire battle. Zone has become one living organism." Korthok commander made one last desperate attempt. His flagship fired everything it had at the largest human ship, but the attack never reached its target. Thousands of tiny bioships swarmed between the flagship and its target, absorbing every shot. "Retreat," the commander finally ordered. All ships retreat immediately. But it was too late. The bioseeds had grown throughout their ships. Converted fighters surrounded them. The harmonic fields trapped them in space. Korthok Commander Jake said calmly, "Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are neutralized. Surrender now, and we'll let you leave alive." There was a long silence. Finally, the commander spoke. His voice was filled with confusion and fear. "How did you do this? We are the Korthok Empire. We have conquered 100 worlds. We have never been defeated." "You conquered worlds that couldn't fight back," Jake replied. "Today you learned what happens when people work together to protect each other." The Korthok ships were escorted to the edge of the system by bioships and human vessels. Before they left, Jake sent them a message. "Tell your empire what happened. Here, tell them that the Villani are under human protection. Tell them that any species that harms peaceful civilizations will face the Sanctuary Alliance." "The Sanctuary Alliance?" the commander asked. "That's what we're calling ourselves," Jake said. "Humans and every peaceful species that wants protection. We're stronger together than any of us are alone." After the Korthok ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Jake received messages from around the galaxy. Other peaceful species had watched the battle through quantum communication networks. They were amazed and hopeful. Emma translated messages from dozens of species. "Admiral, we're getting requests for protection from everywhere. The Harmony Builders, the Memory Keepers, the Deep Thinkers. Everyone wants to join the Alliance." Flo's people were celebrating in their underwater cities. For the first time in generations, they felt safe. Their children could play without fear. Their artists could create without worrying about being taken, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The major powers would not ignore what had happened. They would see the Sanctuary Alliance as a threat to their control over the galaxy. "Sir," Captain Price said quietly, "what do we do now?" Jake looked at the stars through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there, the Zenthari Collective and Arcanian Federation were learning about the battle. 6 months after the battle at the Villani homeworld, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Unity Station. The massive space station floated in neutral space, built by dozens of peaceful species working together. It was beautiful and strange, mixing human metal with Villani coral, crystal harmonic chambers, and garden-tender living walls. "Admiral, we have a problem," Ambassador Linda Gray said, as she entered the command center. Linda was Earth's best diplomat, known for making deals that everyone could accept. But today she looked worried. "What kind of problem?" Jake asked. "The big kind," Linda replied. "The Zenthari Collective, Arcanian Federation, and Korthok Empire have formed an alliance. They're calling it the Stability Coalition." Emma Rodriguez looked up from her communications station, Sura monitoring their broadcasts. "They're saying the Sanctuary Alliance is a threat to galactic peace. They claim we're disrupting thousands of years of stable government." Jake laughed bitterly. Stable for them, maybe. Stable for the species they were enslaving and killing. Alex Turner floated over from his research station. "Jake, it's worse than that. Intelligence reports say they're building the largest military force in galactic history. Over 50,000 ships." "How many do we have?" Jake asked. "About 3,000, Captain Danny Price replied. "But most of ours are small ships. Theirs are massive dreadnoughts." Jake looked out the station windows at the ships docked outside. Human vessels worked alongside bioships grown by the Villani. Crystal ships that looked like giant musical instruments floated next to garden-tender vessels covered in flowers and vines. It was the strangest fleet in galactic history. But it was his fleet. Sir General Chris Wade called from the tactical center. Chris was the Alliance's military coordinator, a quiet man who understood that sometimes the best strategy was not to fight at all. "We're getting reports from our scout ships. The Coalition fleet is moving toward the Proxima Centauri system. That's where Earth is," Lisa Chang said quietly. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. The Coalition wasn't just trying to destroy the peaceful species. They were coming for humanity's home. "They're sending a message," Emma reported. "It's addressed to you personally, Admiral." "Put it through." The main screen showed 3 alien faces. The Zenthari looked like a metal robot with glowing red eyes. The Arcanian resembled a giant insect with 4 arms. The Korthok commander was the same one who had fled from the Villani battle. "Admiral Morrison, the Zenthari," spoke in a mechanical voice. "You have violated galactic law and disturbed the natural order. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to survive as servants." "Never," Jake replied immediately. The Arcanians. Mandibles clicked angrily. "Your arrogance will destroy you. We offer one final chance. Abandon the primitive species and return to your proper place." "Our proper place is protecting people who can't protect themselves," Jake said. The Korthok commander leaned forward. "Then you will share their fate. We are coming for Earth, human. Your world will burn as an example to anyone else who defies us." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his staff. "How long until they reach Earth?" "For days at maximum speed," General Wade replied. "Can Earth's defenses hold them?" "Not against 50,000 ships. Earth's fleet is strong, but not that strong." Ambassador Gray stepped forward. "Jake, maybe we should consider negotiating. We could save some of the peaceful species, even if we can't save them all," No said. A new voice. Flo had entered the command center, his biosuit allowing him to survive in the station's atmosphere. His light pattern showed determination. "We do not run anymore. We do not hide anymore. We fight together." "Flo, you don't understand," Jake said. "They could destroy everyone. Your people, my people, all of us." Flo's lights flashed in what Jake had learned was Villani laughter. "Admiral Morrison, you still think like the old galaxy. You think in terms of destroying and being destroyed. But we are not the old galaxy anymore." Dr. Nicole Foster's image appeared on a communication screen from Earth. "Jake, I've been working with scientists from all the Alliance species. We have something to show you." "What is it?" Jake asked. "Come to Earth. Bring representatives from every species." You need to see this in person. 3 days later, Jake stood in a vast underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around him, scientists from dozens of species worked together on something incredible. The chamber was filled with a mixture of human technology, Villani, biosystems, crystal harmonic generators, and garden-tender living computers. "What is this place?" Jake asked. Nicole smiled. "Call it the Harmony Project. Remember how each species has special abilities? We've been combining them all." She led Jake to a massive display showing the solar system around Earth. The Villani can grow bio-networks that span entire planets. The crystals can create harmonic fields that reach across star systems. The garden tenders can make living barriers in space itself. "What are you saying?" Jake asked. Alex Turner joined them, his eyes bright with excitement. "We're saying we don't need to fight them, Ship 2. Ship, we can turn the entire solar system into a defensive network." Over the next day, Jake watched as the Alliance species worked together in ways that amazed him. Villani bioships carried crystal harmonic generators to positions around the solar system. Garden tenders planted seeds on asteroids that grew into living defense platforms. Human engineers coordinated everything through quantum communication networks. "It's like the solar system is becoming alive," Lisa Cheng said, as she watched the preparations. "That's exactly what's happening," Nicole replied. "We're creating a living defense system that can think, adapt, and grow." The Coalition fleet arrived, right on schedule. 50,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their formations blocked out the stars. Jake waited on Unity Station, which had moved to Earth orbit. Around him, his friends and allies prepared for what everyone knew would be the most important battle in galactic history. "Coalition fleet, this is Admiral Morrison. Jake broadcast. You are not welcome in the system. Leave now." The reply came. "From the Zenthari commander, human fool. Look at our numbers. We have come to end your rebellion once and for all. Then come ahead," Jake said calmly. "Let's finish this." The Coalition fleet moved forward in perfect formation. 50,000 ships advancing like a metal storm toward Earth. But as they entered the inner solar system, strange things began to happen. The first thing they noticed was the singing. The crystal harmonic generators created sounds that traveled through space itself. The songs were beautiful and terrible, frequencies that resonated with the quantum structure of matter. "Sir, our ships are experiencing system failures, a Coalition," officer reported to his commander. "How is that possible?" Zenthari demanded. Before anyone could answer, the bionetwork activated. Villani coral that had been growing on asteroids and moons suddenly revealed itself. Living tentacles reached out across millions of kilometers, connecting every defensive platform in the solar system. The Coalition ships found themselves flying not through empty space, but through a living web that stretched from the sun to the outer planets. The web was transparent and beautiful, but it was also a trap. "All ships, fire everything," the Arcanian commander ordered. 50,000 ships opened fire at once. Energy beams and projectiles filled space with deadly light. None of it reached Earth. The living web absorbed every attack, growing stronger with each hit. "Impossible," the Korthok commander whispered. "No," Jake's voice came through their communications. "Just different. No. This is what happens when people work together instead of trying to dominate each other." The garden tenders revealed their contribution. Next, what the Coalition had thought were dead asteroids suddenly bloomed with life. Flowers the size of spaceships opened in the vacuum of space, releasing clouds of spores that surrounded the enemy fleet. The spores didn't hurt anyone, but they made it impossible for the Coalition ships to see or communicate with each other. 50,000 ships found themselves flying blind and deaf in a garden that existed in the void between worlds. "Coalition commanders," Jake broadcast, "your weapons are useless here. Your numbers don't matter here. This system is protected by something you never learned to understand: unity." The crystal songs grew louder, creating harmonic resonances that reached into the Coalition ships themselves. But instead of destroying them, the songs did something else. They made the crews remember things they had forgotten. Zenthari robots remembered what it felt like to create instead of conquer. Arcanian warriors remembered the beauty of art and music. Korthok soldiers remembered what it was like to protect instead of destroy. "What is happening to us?" the Zenthari commander asked, his mechanical voice filled with confusion. "You're remembering who you used to be," Jake replied. "Before you became conquerors, before you decided that might makes right." One by one, coalition ships stopped fighting. Their crews stared in wonder at the living garden that surrounded them. Many had never seen anything so beautiful. For thousands of years they had focused only on war and power, had forgotten that the universe could be magnificent. "This is not possible," the Arcanian commander said, but his voice was softer now. "We are warriors. We are conquerors."